Prepare yourself for a talk radio experience like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
Yukihisa Fujita is our guest for the next 30 minutes. He is a member of the Japanese Parliament, the Democratic Party of Japan, a member of the House of Councilors in the Diet, that's the elite chamber in Japan, and he's been speaking at 9/11 Truth conferences in Sydney and other areas. He, of course, several months ago went public on national Japanese television in the House of Councilors and brought out a lot of information documenting that 9/11 is an inside job, and that idea, that information is taking hold in Japan and all over the world. And so I want to welcome Mr. Fujita on the show with us. Sir, we really appreciate your research, your courage, and the fact that you do have the courage to speak out on an issue that more and more people know is true, but do not have the courage to speak out. So we appreciate your courage.
Thank you so much.
When did you first start to question the official story? When did you first begin to look into questions of 9/11 attacks?
About 2 years ago, when I watched the video, the plain sight, and also some documents and some photos, some 2 years ago.
What was it like for you as you began to research some of the alternative views of 9/11? What was that awakening process like?
Well, at the beginning, I thought I couldn't believe, this can't be true. But then last year, when I heard more about various facts and the photos, such as the collapse of the 7th building in the World Trade Center, and also have heard about the put options that were obviously conducted a few days before the 9/11, I began to see that they were serious and actual evidences of someone apart from Al-Qaeda might be involved. So I began to have thorough research on various facts.
Yukihisa Fujita is our guest today, senior member of the Japanese Parliament, one of the leaders of the Democratic Party over there. What has the response by your fellow countrymen, other Japanese, to your going public?
Well, I was very surprised that there were, yes, one or two people who said that I'm anti-American or anti-government, but a lot of people, a few dozens of people replied to my email encouraging my efforts and thanked me for my courage to ask the questions in public to the Prime Minister. And I was also surprised that actually quite a few fellow MPs in my party had known bits and pieces of 9/11. Someone knew about some FBI person who testified in the commission but refused to go on. And another person knew about the put options. So quite a few Japanese MPs in my party knew about them but did not have thorough enough information to speak up. But they were pleased that I took a courage.
Yes, sir. For those that don't know what put options are, would you like to explain it to them?
Well, you can buy certain stocks by a set price. So if the price of the stock fell down as it did for United Airlines and American Airlines, you can receive a lot of profit out of it.
And then the government engaged in a cover-up of that, though it led back to the CIA director, Buzzy Krongard.
Yes.
Very suspicious. What about the fact that U.S. troops, 44,000 U.S., 18,000 British troops, aircraft carriers, had already massed around Afghanistan? President Bush, President Bashir, had signed the document to attack Afghanistan the day before 9/11.
Well, obviously, various facts are coming up that U.S. government obviously had been planning the attacks for Afghanistan and later for Iraq. Now, that is another reason why I thought to take up this question because, 24 Japanese were killed in New York. And because of that, Japanese government followed U.S. government to go into the warfare in Afghanistan and Iraq. But when I asked the Prime Minister of Japan how those 24 Japanese were killed, he didn't actually answer properly. The Japanese government had not have physical evidence of how those 24 Japanese were killed. I asked them if DNA test was conducted for some of them, for those whose bodies were not found. The answer was that they do not have evidence.
Well, so, even the FBI, sir, as you know, but listeners may not, does not have bin Laden listed as a wanted man for 9/11. The FBI won't even say bin Laden did it.
Yeah. And this is why I am now asking written questions to the Prime Minister. We have a system to ask written questions to the Prime Minister properly. So I've been going on 2 rounds of questions and answers, and I have done the 3rd question to be answered next week.
So 2 separate times you have gone before the highest body of the Parliament, which you're a member of, and have brought this forward. I have to tell you, reading the faces of the Prime Minister and others, they looked very, I don't want to say afraid, but very concerned, very upset. They were not laughing at you, which again shows they know this is serious.
Yes, actually what the Prime Minister was looking at was the Japanese translation of some of the quotes from Patriot's Question 9/11. And I included, former Minister of Defense of Germany and the former President of Central Bank of Germany who admitted that there were put options. By the way, I went to see him, the chairman of Bundesbank, Central Bank of Germany, who had said there were put options. I met him in person a few weeks ago in Europe. And therefore the Prime Minister in the hearing in Japan could not deny what I was trying to prove.
Amazing, amazing. People with your type of courage may save us. We have Andres von Bülow, who was the defense head in Parliament. We have the former, very respected president of Italy saying that the U.S. staged terror attacks, which have been declassified in Europe, to blame it on communists. Gulf of Tonkin was staged. USS Liberty was staged. That's now been declassified. I want to be clear. It's not our whole government. It is criminals inside of it doing this. What are they going to do as the truth begins to break through the dam?
Well, I studied from the aspect of the 24 Japanese killed. And the government also has said, in answering to my question, that terrorism is a crime. And if it is a crime, you have to investigate. Therefore, I urge the Japanese government to invest directly or indirectly, then to verify if it was right for Japan to support the warfare in Afghanistan and Iraq, then eventually ask the Japanese government to ask the U.S. government to have proper investigation again. And this is something we parliamentarians of various countries could ask. I was in Europe meeting with European MPs, and they are also thinking about asking the UN to investigate again. So these kind of efforts have to be done, more internationally.
The perpetrators, I think, are starting to get scared.
I don't know. Therefore, some people say that I better be careful about my own, life.
They better be careful, because millions of people who have courage like yourself are starting to stand up. Stay there, please, sir. We'll be right back with our guest, member of the Japanese Parliament, Yukihisa Fujita, who has bravely gone public, and it sends shockwaves across the world. We'll talk about more of his questions and where he thinks this investigation should go on the other side. My website's Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Stay with us. Yukihisa Fujita is our guest, senior member of the Japanese Parliament, one of the leaders of his party, the Democratic Party of Japan. He is in the elite upper house of the Diet, the counselors area. House of the Counselors, and he joins us here today. We have stories up on PrisonPlanet.com of the hundreds of CIA section chiefs from the U.S., other intelligence directors, 2 different former heads of German intelligence. I mean, it goes on and on. Russian generals, anyone who looks at 9/11. Mr. Fujita, isn't it an insult to our intelligence when we have firemen and police on video saying, get back, they're going to blow up Building 7, they're going to bring it down, and we have all these witnesses and all of this happening? Why do you think the perpetrators thought we were so stupid and that they could do this in plain view?
I think they did not think that the internet world was so prevailing that citizens can have access to those informations years later what happened. But you know, I have been to Europe to see the truth seekers in 11 European countries, and I have also been to Australia to a conference on 9/11 organized by truth seekers there. You know, the internet was an invention by the military people, but now citizens are making the best use of it, and citizens now can have access to the information. So what has been able to be hidden by now cannot be hidden anymore.
And they have opened Pandora's box, I think, inadvertently. You're absolutely right. And to be clear, you just had a presentation at the European Parliament with Andres von Bülow and all these, I mean, the former head of the military, all these top people there saying the same thing, showing videos, showing documents. That's got to scare the people that carried out 9/11.
Yes. And I think the film shown in the EU building was a film called Zero, made by Italian member of parliament. Now, the important thing about the Zero is that this film is not meant to be shown in the internet world, but in the film theaters in various cities, in various countries. And I think the most important thing now is that we have to go out from internet world to sort of daylight world, that common people who do not use the computers in the villages in various countries can have access to the information.
That's right. We have to take it out of the cyberspace and then physically manifest in the three-dimensional universe.
Yes, indeed.
Well, you're helping do that. I mean, when we've got all the top actors and Willie Nelson, and the media can't ignore them, but they are ignoring the scientists and experts because they're afraid. How do we force them to look at all the scientists and experts? And Bill Christensen was a CIA section chief in Europe. I mean, this guy's very high level. He's saying inside job. How do they ignore that?
Well, I think the team efforts by the scientists of various continents together and the politicians of various continents together and the media people of various continents together to have common sort of strategy to pursue the investigation of the thing, either through the UN or various European MPs network. And I have been very encouraged by various U.S. politicians who have been speaking up. Mr. Kucinich, I understand,
yes,
a congressman, has asked to have investigation again on those put options.
Yes, we had him on. He announced that a few months ago.
Yes.
And, boy, they have gone after him. The good news is if we don't expose the people that did this, and they've now been caught, Gulf of Tonkin declassified to get us into Vietnam, USS Liberty declassified, that was staged, Chicago Tribune. So many things, that they killed Kennedy, they killed Bobby Kennedy, all coming out. Very small military group controlled by a few central banks in Europe. They cannot stand exposure. But if we don't expose them, as you know, Mr. Fujita, member of parliament, they are going to continue to use the problem reaction solution. Same thing Hitler used, firebombing his own Reichstag to take over Germany. I mean, do you agree that we've got to expose them or they will continue to stage more events?
Yes, I think so. The way we have been, or you have been exposing the things more in the internet world, now have to expose those things in physical media means.
You told me you'd seen some of my films or pieces of them. Which have you seen? Because I'm going to send you all of them.
Yes. Sorry, I have seen various films by so many people, so I can't sort of remember which of you has.
Well, I will send them all to you. My film.
Yes, please.
I think our strongest point is the science, but also the admission of false flag terror. The fact that governments have been caught doing it before. I don't think the public realizes that false flag inside job is so popular in history.
Yeah, I think we seem to have more information that we need. The time is coming for us in various walks of life to identify which evidences are most compelling and most deniable, and to make those evidences to be more visual by the common people who do not use computers.
Yes, sir. In closing, when you were there at the highest level of the Japanese parliament presenting video clips and stills of firemen talking about bombs going off and being told to get back, they were going to blow it up, what was the average response of other members of parliament? Were they looked shocked to be seeing this? Were they shocked?
They were shocked and they were surprised. And the number 7 building, story, I think the most compelling, most convincing for them to understand. And put options was another sort of convincing sort of element.
Absolutely. In Japan, I've been told that people are really starting to get into 9/11 being an inside job. Is that the case?
Well, as I said, quite a few, several dozen MPs in my party now are quite convinced about the wrongs about 9/11's official report, and they are supporting me to have more thorough sort of approach. And tomorrow morning in Japan, actually, I'm invited to properly report to the fellow MPs in my party on my time at the European Parliament and Australia.
So you're going to be reporting to the government, the federal government?
No, to my party fellow members in my party.
Okay, so to your party
meeting.
meeting.
My own party, I would like to enlarge to the MPs of other parties.
Absolutely. Well, we really appreciate your time, and again, I'd like to have you back on as your operation against tyranny expands, and definitely work together. And again, we appreciate your amazing courage. The type of courage you and others are showing is what just may save us. Without you, we are lost. God bless you. Godspeed. We commend you, Mr. Fujita.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you.
Take care, and thank you for staying.
We work together.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Godspeed.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, amazing individual, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate him spending time with us. Infowars.com, prisonplanet.com. We're going to come back, take a bunch of your calls on this subject and a lot of others at 877-590-5525. We'll be right back.